What's going on, guys? So I just put a video up today, actually. So I've been editing non-stop after work, so it's a little late. After work, I picked up a bunch of parts. So I got some exhaust stuff and 2 bottles of break-in oil. My parts guy just dropped off the new pedal assembly, so that's pretty slick. And then all the stuff needed for the clutch linkage. So this car already, it was a 4-speed at some points. It already has the little bracket right on the frame. Unfortunately, the more I was looking at it, where I have my proportioning valve, it's going to be in the way of the hole in the firewall. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of messing around with the brakes. But I'm hoping I should have enough room that I can move everything around. I might have to just make a couple of new lines right from the master to the proportioning valve once I kind of twist it sideways. But that's that. Motor's still sitting there doing nothing. I unpacked the scatter shield, went through everything, looked up all the instructions. Looks pretty simple. Yesterday, been working this transmission a lot. I didn't do a whole lot of filming on it. Somebody at some point had painted this whole thing black, so I spent a bunch of time with wire brushes and cleaner, getting it all dealt with. And then I took it to work today and pressure washed it, so it's all pretty much ready to go. There was a couple of problems with this thing. One of the, well, 2 of them actually, were screwed. So this one just has a Healy coil in it, so it's still 3/8. This one is bigger, like 1/2 inch, so that was a pain. And then the reverse little linkage here was broken. So I ended up kind of cleaning it up and trying to wrap a rag around there with some water to keep it cool, so hopefully I didn't screw up the seal. But basically it kind of was, looking like that, but bust. So I welded it up a little bit, and I just welded a stud on, which was a 5/16 bolt. And then I just put a little couple of washers and stuff. So it should be just mint. Inside the gears were good and all that. So that was that. I'll have to put all the shifter and all that stuff back on the linkage. And obviously this one, a few people noted, it's from a bench seat. It came out of a Tri-5 actually. So it's got a bench seat goofy thing. So I don't know, chop that, weld that, do whatever I gotta do to make it fit. It'll suit the rest of the car. So yeah, lots of screwing around. I'm going to drain all the oil of this. There's still a little bit in there. Get that cleaned up. And then I really want to, I've probably said 50 times, but I'm actually going to clean up under the hood on this thing now because I'm pretty much ready to go. The motor's, got to go on the crane so I can take the ring gear off, put on the flywheel and the clutch and all that assembly. And then once I do that, I guess I got to put the block plate on first, but then the scatter shield. You gotta, I guess, adjust that, adjust the clutch, everything has to be all perfect. And then once I do that, the transmission should just slide in, 4 bolts, and then that sucker's together. And then I guess I'll probably put the linkage stuff on, but maybe take the handle off. I haven't even really looked at that. So that'll all be ready to go. So it'll be one long, motor trans together, all clean here. I should slip that in there. It's got the exact same motor mounts, and the transmission mount off the Muncie was the same as the one that was on the automatic I took out. So it should slide in, bolt up, I can put the exhaust on, get everything under the hood, completely done. And then all I gotta do is, like I said, mess around with the brakes a little bit to move that for the clutch linkage. And I mean the carpet seat's gotta come on anyways because I got the carpet kit coming. It should be here next week. The guy dropped all this stuff off. He's my same parts guy for that. So carpet's gotta come out anyways. So I'll pull seats and carpet out. And then I'll just, I think there was a hole there, and I actually didn't weld it in. I think I just kind of used a few sheet metal screws because I wanted to make this thing a 4-speed at some point anyways. So I should be able to kind of rip the seam sealer off, and I'll have the hole I need for the 4-speed anyways. So hopefully I'm all downhill. They said it's Friday night. Danielle's working late tonight, and she's gone for the weekend. So I should get a whole bunch done, and fingers crossed, motor trans will be together and in this weekend, maybe even another video on Sunday. We'll see how it goes. So wish me luck. Like I said, I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning up here. And yeah, you guys see it next. It'll be all cleaned up, ready to go. Alright, so I ended up washing the whole car while I was at it. Under the hood's all degreased and stuff like that. Once it dries tomorrow, I'll kind of go in again, just kind of wipe everything down if I miss some spots. But looks pretty decent. I ended up pulling the proportioning valve off. So the way this one sat is it sat just like this under the master on the firewall, which in turn, you can see in there, there's a little plate right below the master. I gotta take that off because that's where the rod for the cables is gonna come through. So when I did this car, it's got front discs, rear drums, and it's manual brakes. So I was kind of a little hodgepodge of stuff that I had, and I bought some sort of master for something, and then made all my own lines and kind of made it work. But I'm hoping now I'll be able to just put the linkage and all that together, and everything be happy, and then I'll have to put the portioning valve, probably just, you know, turn it 90 degrees, and I think I have enough line on everything that should be able to kind of loosely put everything together, torque it sideways, build a bracket, and it should be fine, and life will be good again. But that's it for me tonight. I'm gonna let this stuff dry, like I said, overnight. I'll be back at it tomorrow, and I don't know, work on something. Either start pulling the pedals out, or start putting the flywheel and stuff on the motor, and go from there. I think I might want to do the motor stuff, but once I put the motor and trans together, I'm kind of committed to putting in the car. So I want to make sure I get as much out of the way as I can right now. But I'll be back at it tomorrow. I'm gonna level with you. I actually didn't go inside. I started putting the clutch pedal in because it was pretty exciting. But I thought I'd just show you. Look under here. It's all pretty much mint. But I pulled the brake pedal out, which was pretty simple. It just had one big pin. I managed to get, let's just see, let's sketch it out. There you go, clutch and brake pedal. So they're obviously setting back because they're not doing nothing, but went in super easy. This is the pin that came out of the like the brake pedal, but it just kind of goes through, and there's one little clip. On the stick one, it's just a little bit longer, and then the clutch pedal fits on the end. So pretty simple. This is the little kind of crank that I'm going to fit on there, and then there's a couple of linkages, which should go pretty simple. But this is really it for now. I'm going in for the night. We'll be back at it tomorrow. What's going on, guys? So Saturday afternoon, just got home from work. It's probably, you know, 2 o'clock or something like that. So I'm out in the garage. I got the transmission all back together. Finished cleaning it. I was all happy with it. I got the little bushing here that goes on the block. I just wanted to make sure it was going to fit nicely there. Bearing is all fine. I'm going to reuse the one that came with it. It wasn't making noise. I'm sure it'll be fine. Got the scatter shield and all that kind of ready to go. The bolts out for it. I'm going to have to measure where everything was on that, and hopefully I'll be able to transfer that onto this, so it should just fit nice and easily in the car. I put the pedals in. I did it last night. I also slapped these valve covers on this thing. Just kind of see what it's going to look like with a bunch of gold on it. I'm not 100% sold on it. I'm not a big fan of those Edelbrocks though, because they look super dated, but yeah, we'll see what happens. So the next thing I'm going to do is clean up the pressure plate and the flywheel. So I'm just going to hit that with the random orbital, get those all cleaned up. I think otherwise everything else I have is pretty much ready to go. So I'll get this thing hung on the crane. I got to move a few things out of the way, and I should be able to start attaching the transmission. So that's the plan for the day. I'd like to get it all together, and fingers crossed, maybe I'll put it in the car. We'll see what happens. Okay, so the motor's hanging here. I got the block plate on. I got the flywheel. I just kind of like cleaned it up a little bit, and then same with the pressure plate. They actually look pretty good. They still have the grooves in them and all that, so it's just kind of rusty. I got the bolts in, so I'll torque down. I changed a little bushing. I take the other one out. I ended up just kind of filling the void full of grease, knocking it with a hammer. So that worked out. So now the next thing I got to do, where's the clutch? I don't have the little alignment tool, so I'll try doing it a bit of a different way. The clutch, it fits on the pressure plate like that, and it's the exact same size as the pressure plate. And as you can see on the sides, there's gonna be these little kind of jet outs. So when I put it on, I'm gonna get all 6 bolts started. I should be able to kind of push my fingers in and just have it right centered like that, and then I should be able to you know, kind of bolt it all in, kind of go back and forth like you're torquing a lug or a wheel. And I think it's only like 30 foot-pounds or something, so I should be able to get that on. Should be golden, and then I'll slap on the scatter shield. So I got to adjust the little clutch fork, make sure that's right, and as long as that's all good, then I should be able to kind of test fit the transmission. So that's what I'm doing. So I'll get this on there and bring you guys back. Okay, so clutch is installed. Like I said, I just kind of, worked it in here. You can feel the clutch in a few different spots, so I got it all, nice and straight where I wanted it. It was pretty good in there. That was all fine. So again, a little bit of Loctite and torque it all. I actually lugged the transmission out, and I did just slide it in and out, and it went in and out of the bushing and the clutch and all that, no problem. In and out, it was nice and easy. Now that I got that done, I've come over here. So this is the old bell housing that I'm replacing with that scatter shield. So what I want to do here is I put it straight across. I'm going to measure down to this little pivot. So that way, because this one's adjustable, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to kind of figure what I want to do with that. And then I just have to add a little bit because this is the block plate. So I'll add that 1/8 of an inch worth of adjustment. Put that all together. And that should be able to bolt onto the block. Make sure it's all happy and squared away. Then the transmission should be able to be bolted in. So next time you see it, I should have this thing bolted on and all ready to go. So there it is. There is a lot of bolts holding this thing together. So you have your standard bell housing bolts, and there's some giant ones peppered in, and then the whole bottom. It's got a bunch of 3/8 bolts the whole way around. Panned the fork there so it'll look good. These are the 4 bolts that will hold the transmission in. So next thing you gotta do is just hoist this big honking transmission in. I'm gonna smear a little bit of grease on there, and I gotta run a little bit of grease in this bearing so it'll have some. And put the transmission in. You want to make sure that you have the ears right up against the bell housing. You don't want, or the scatter shield. You don't want to pull the transmission in with these bolts. It'll break these ears off. I've seen that happen before, so I'm going to try and not do that. So I'll probably lower this thing down a little bit, hoist it in, get it bolted in, and then it'll look like a real hot rod. Okay, so everything's apart. I'm pretty angry. I was putting everything together. The transmission would not fit in all the way. So I kept checking everything, took everything apart, and it turns out this little pilot bushing. I guess when I knocked it in, I must have mushroomed it or something like that. So it's 5:30. I ran to the parts store. I got 2. One's actually a little bearing. This is the exact same one I had. So I test fit it before I did that, and it fits fine. So obviously, I screwed up knocking it in there. I used a socket, and I guess I probably should have used a brass drift, which I have, and just laced out. So I'm going to put everything together again that we just watched, and hopefully the transmission will now fit. Well, there's a lot of work, but it looks wicked. So once you change that little bushing for 12 bucks, whatever it cost, it fit in just fine. So motor and trans together, clutch is happy, everything's torqued on. This bell housing has a bazillion bolts, but they're all in. So yeah, all I gotta do now is put on the trans mount, because it was the one that was on there was all kind of hacked. I'm hoping it's the same one actually on that Turbo 350 trans. So I'll move this stuff out of the way, bolt that on, and I should be able to plop this sucker in the car. But I've been going at it pretty hard. It's about 6 o'clock now. It's supper time, so I'm going to do that, and hopefully have enough energy to come back out, because I really want this motor in the car today. Alright, so motor's hanging. I got the heater cranked. Let it warm up a little bit in here, because I'm pretty sure I have to push the car kind of outside a little bit. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning up, get a little stuff out of the way, and I'm hoping I'll be able to plunk the motor in without jacking this thing up. Just kind of have it sit, maybe put the floor jack under the transmission, and maybe put the trans cross member in, but otherwise leave that for tonight. Been working at it pretty hard, and I'm ready to do this. So hopefully it'll go nice and smooth. The other one came out real easy, and I mean the manual's a little bit smaller, but as long as I can get the motor, the engine crane over here, it should be pretty good. I don't think the filming will be as good, because like I said, I'm by myself tonight. But yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so I got the car kind of half out, trying to keep as much heat in here as I can. Engine's all precarious like usual. It's a little twisty, but hopefully I can just right in there. So let's see how this goes. May not be the best camera angle, but so what we got. So there we go. Wasn't quite as graceful going in as it was coming out, but it's back in. The transmission, I was just working the floor jack at the back there to kind of keep it level. So I got the mounts in, just some bolts loosely in there. So I should be able to drop this thing down, unbolt the like the chain or whatever, push the car back in, then I can jack it up. I'll be able to get under there, lift the transmission back up, and it'll be permanent for now. Okay, well, the car's up on stands. You can see the motor's a little bit more level, so I got the all the bolts in the motor mount, so it's bolted in where it's going to be. And this kind of gives you an idea, maybe a little more. So that's where the master cylinder sits. This is the little piece I took out, so that's where the rod's got to come out for the clutch, and then a little Z-bar, and it'll go across. I gotta thread a little end into the block, and then you can just kind of see down there, I don't know if it'll show up or not, but it's the clutch fork. So tomorrow I'm gonna start doing that, but unfortunately, I mean, you can see where all the brakes were right in the way. So I'm hoping I can get that in, get the clutch kind of going, and then I can start hooking the brakes up again. I'll just show you underneath real quick. It looks good. It almost feels bad having it under the car. So that's in, the cross member's in. I managed to switch the mount off that Turbo 350, which was a brand new one. So that's that. So the speedometer cable will fit and everything. Tomorrow I gotta start taking everything out from the inside, but I should be able to put the drive shaft back in, hang the exhaust, do a few things like that. So lots of progress today. Busy day. I'm done though. I think that's gonna be it for this video too. There's a bunch of clips there, so I'm kind of doing, I don't know, 3 or 4 part series on this. It's not getting as many likes as I would have hoped, but I guess it is what it is. So if you don't mind, like the video, tell your friends, subscribe to the channel, all those things. I'll probably be back at it tomorrow. Today is Saturday night, it's probably about 10 o'clock, so Sunday I got the whole day, or at least half the day, to get on it. And then I go to SEMA in a week from tomorrow, so I want to get this thing done. Done. As much as I can. Hopefully I can get the interior and everything. But that's it for me. That's it for the video. I'll be back at it tomorrow, and hopefully a new video will be out, and I'll start filming linkage.